Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new podcast called Time Will Tell. We will explain in a minute what this podcast is about. But first of all, I would like to introduce you to my friend Jordan. And before we dive into that, we probably should explain why we do this and what actually is the reason.
True.
And
So we plan on putting this on Spotify and various other platforms. But if you are watching this on anything other than Spotify or YouTube, do head over to YouTube because we plan to share the screen and the whole session. I think it'll be a bit more immersive for you also. That's where I would suggest to have a look.
yeah, should we start talking about us first, or should we start explaining the podcast first?
Well, should we just very quickly introduce ourselves for
Yeah.
anyone that might have stumbled upon this video by
Yeah.
chance?
Yeah. Let's start with you because I know you for a very long time, and I'm pretty sure people don't realize yet that they know you as well.
It's true, yeah. So my name's Jordan, and I am a guitar teacher, music lover, and some of you may know me as Drake Bell Covers on YouTube, who has done since, I don't know, maybe 15 years or something, various covers and things like that, and tutorial videos. So that's maybe where you've heard me from, and I feel quite privileged to be here talking with Kai, who I'm sure he'll introduce himself in a moment, but I'm sure many of you will know him already, especially if you are on this video about Drake Bell and you know that Kai works with Drake Bell. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer, really. So we're in a pretty of a privileged position, aren't we, Kai?
Yeah, but I would like to say, you don't see it like that, but I would say that like the majority of Drake Bell fans used to go to your channel to find out how they can play certain chords on the songs of Drake, because and I did as well. It helped me a lot.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's nice to know.
and it's also like kind of the probably the 15th anniversary of that channel
Wow.
right now. Maybe
That
I
is
don't know,
Crazy, yeah.
but it's really you've been around for a long time.
Yes. For
and-
better or worse.
You always figured out like the one by one playing on the songs, like on the chords.
Yeah,
So-
like transcribing was always
Yeah.
a passion of mine, and the thing still infuriates me now. You know, when you see Ultimate Guitar and other website submissions, and songs are clearly wrong, but that just really annoys me. So I
Yeah.
felt like I need to sort that out.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm Kai. Some people might know me maybe from the latest record of Drake.
Absolutely.
We did a few songs on that and his Christmas track, and I had a duet with him 5 years ago, I think. And yeah, I do also like my own music and have tons of records released. This podcast is going to be probably a little bit for the music nerds, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely a geek session, isn't it?
Yeah, but we definitely try to include like information which may not be out there. I mean, they are out there, but maybe hard to find.
Yeah, I guess so.
And yeah, but what actually is this podcast about? Yeah, should I tell? Should
Yeah,
you tell?
spill the beans.
Time will tell.
Yeah. So yeah, by all means, let everybody know.
Yeah, so this podcast is basically something I had in mind for ages. I just didn't know if I could do it and if Drake would be fine with me doing it. This podcast, we want to make a deep dive into the It's Only Time record, actually.
Yeah.
And-
nearly 20 years old.
Yeah, and for this podcast, we actually have the original stamps of the record. So we will be able to listen to, for example, certain instruments without like the other instruments. Like we need to explain it to the not nerds. So like we can listen to the drums, we can listen to the guitars separated. Not AI separated, by the way. It's like the original ones 20 years ago
So
recorded.
it's quite literally the multi-tracks, isn't it?
It's the-
individual
yeah.
drum mics. It is
Yeah.
as they had it when they
Yeah.
were in the session.
Yeah, and you were even able to have all the plugins correctly
Yeah.
applied to it. So this is what we mainly want to do in this podcast, and we probably will also talk about the tracks on the record, and maybe have some cool stories to share about our like life with that record, but maybe also
Yeah.
stories you may not find everywhere, like from the production of It's Only Time or something.
Absolutely.
We don't
There's
know
bound
about
to be some little hidden gems, isn't there? And
Yeah.
things that you don't notice.
Yeah. And for this episode, we thought it would be maybe good to start with a song which wasn't directly from It's Only Time, but it was.
No. Yeah.
So since it's almost the 20th anniversary of the album Telegraph, I think that album came out in August 2005.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so the 20th anniversary of Found a Way already has passed, but we want to talk about this song. We also have the stamps of this to show and some stories. Maybe we talk a little about the record as well, some songs we like a lot. And I don't know if I explained it well, but
No, you do fine. I think I should just make it clear to everyone before we get stuck in that this is totally new to us. So we do plan on doing more episodes of this with other songs, but we're just finding our feet with it a little bit at the moment.
Yeah.
So if it feels a bit disjointed, I'm hoping we'll get better. So
yeah. But the plan would be like to have one episode per song.
yes, a
minus-
deep dive in each song.
Minus the Found a Way acoustic version, because we don't have the tracks of that.
But we do have.
We do have the Found a Way tracks of the album version of that song.
Yeah, the Telegraph version, yeah. The one that everybody knows from the Drake and Josh theme as well.
Yeah. And before we check these out, we want to talk a little about the record. It's on the record Telegraph.
Absolutely.
But let me close the window before we do that.
Okay.
Because
That sounds like it's a metaphorical thing.
and also I want to open my drink for this.
Fine.
Wait a second.
ASMR with Kai.
All right.
Beautiful.
This is something I also do on my other podcast as well. Like I have always like something to drink and I open it in the. I'm the only
really?
one, by the
Okay.
way. Everyone else is annoyed, but I do it.
It's fine. I've got a glass of juice.
Oh, that's
it's
nice.
not quite as loud, but
That's nice. So, Telegraph. I think I can like say that for both of us, it probably was kind of. It changed maybe something in our lives. Maybe really It's Only Time changed like everything, but Telegraph was kind of the beginning of that.
absolutely, yeah.
And Telegraph also is like a record that, I mean, we can't cover that all in this episode, but Telegraph to me is like a big story because it's not a record which was done like Drake didn't say, hey, let's do a record, and they did it in like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah.
I think his first album already is like a collection of tracks, and it was released in 2005, and I think by that time some of the songs were already years old, probably.
Yeah. There's some really old footage of live performances of Somehow and a few other songs that really predate. I don't know if they predate Drake and Josh, but I mean, they're quite old.
Yeah, and if you listen to that old live stuff you mentioned, you can hear that probably these songs were written to be like more like heavy rock songs.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, there is, I think, Somehow. Which has not kind of nothing to do with what it is now. I mean, you have the melody, but it's like totally different. Yeah, but let's start from the beginning because I mean, for us, Telegraph, like the story of Telegraph for us, obviously started in the year 2005 to be like exactly on the date August 23. and it's fucking 20 years ago. I gotta
crazy,
say
isn't
that.
it?
Yeah, it's really crazy. So that also means we're getting old, but
Yeah.
there's like sadly, I mean, there's a lot of great songs on it. We cannot talk about every track, but did you do you have anything you want to say about certain songs? Because I'm sure we have probably the same songs on the list.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't specifically write any down, but I'll just share with you a memory that I have. And that was, I'm sure it echoes many people who watched Drake and Josh as maybe young kids or teenagers, that my memory of that album was, of course, from Drake and Josh. So I'd heard some songs like Down We Fall that was performed acoustically on Drake and Josh. And I later realised that it was on that album. And of course, we know that the Found a Way theme was the theme song to Drake and Josh as well.
Yeah.
So I remember going onto drakebell.com way back when and seeing little snippets of those songs. I think there was maybe, there might have been Hollywood Girl, Don't Preach. I think there's a few songs definitely Found a Way. And I was like, this sounds really cool. You know, it sounds really bad, but I think everyone expected that Drake wouldn't be a particularly great musician because he's sort of a teen actor, you know, that typical trope. But I thought it sounded really good. So I ended up getting the album, loved it, and it was kind of the album through my formative years, and still to this day I listen to it and I reference it all the time, even in, you know, my own music.
Yeah. I gotta say this. Yeah, he since he was from a Nickelodeon show, I think he never was like the appreciated musician.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
probably deserved that more. And that's really sad because like if you can still find like old threads of like
Forums.
yeah. And it's like from 2005, 2006, and like this is like musician nerd forums, you know, and people talk about It's Only Time, and they reference Jellyfish on certain songs and stuff, and also about Telegraph. And it's really sad because most people like don't give you credits just because you are like a 17 years old teen star on a teen television show, whatever.
Yeah.
This is really sad, and it's happening all the time. In some cases, it might be even the truth. Like for a lot of people from
course,
Nickelodeon or something, maybe they aren't that great in music. But it was a little different for Drake, you know. He wrote like everything, like he was involved in every song, and people didn't know, but also like didn't care, and it's kind of sad. And
absolutely.
That's why I think
it's like it doesn't just sing and write; he plays as well, and you know, he obviously has a huge drive in everything that he does.
Yeah, and especially you mentioning that brings me to me checking out the album credits of Telegraph,
Right.
and I was like, okay, like he did everything. Like he wrote like all the instruments. Like I was trying to figure out like who played the drums. And it's like just like Backhouse Mike and Drake, like on all the credits. I mean, there might be some other writers and some other like little credits for like other instruments maybe, but it's mainly a 2-man record.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Which is kind of slightly echoes, along with C.J. Abraham, Super Chris, with It's Only Time too. It's very much a kind of trio thing then as well.
Yeah, I think CJ actually was involved in the first record as well, but wasn't.
I seem to remember that, yeah.
But he wasn't really in the team back then, I think.
Yeah.
And he wasn't credited, but I think it was like it probably wasn't on purpose, or he maybe didn't do so much, but he was kind of involved. That's what I think I heard, because I talked to a lot of people in the last 15 years about the works on that records.
And I remember hearing about when, back in the Telegraph days when they were recording that, how it was recorded at Backhouse at Mike's old essential shed,
Yeah.
like the Backhouse. And I remember CJ once saying in an interview that the gate that you hear open at the very first start of the Telegraph album is the gate to the Backhouse. So it's just kind of a nice little nod to it all.
Yeah, that you mentioned something. I had a chat today with someone about that Backhouse story. I will call Scott right now.
I'm excited.
Oh, it says he's not available.
Oh, nice.
Hello?
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, how are you?
You are in the podcast right now.
That's crazy.
That's
How's it
crazy.
going? Have you gotten to 2001 yet?
No. No.
I can't even remember what year was Telegraphed.
Telegraph was released in 2005, but I think the songs were older.
Yeah, they were definitely older.
So we
Not
just
all of them.
we just talked about Jordan just mentioned, and by the way, he can hear you, but you can't hear him.
Okay.
He just mentioned the situation like living kind of in a back house.
So I'm not sure exactly how it came about, but Mike was looking for a place to live. I think his landlord like raised the rent or whatever it was, and I think it was somebody in Drake's family. I want to say it was his dad, but I'm not positive. Had sort of a pool house or like a converted garage. So Mike could stay there. He sort of set up a little studio, and that's where the term Backhouse Mike came from, because he lived in the back house. And and by the way, the pool was above ground, just a round sort of something for the kids. It was big, but it wasn't like a Hollywood glamorous pool. But yeah, so Mike was living there for a bit of time, and then there was some fallout. I don't know if it was between Mike and Drake's dad, or Drake and Drake's dad, or something was like, you can't live here anymore. And then Mike just decided to get us a proper studio, and he lived in quite squalor. Didn't like there was a community bathroom, so he was just kind of rinsing himself in the sink for, I would say, 2 years.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I mean, I'm sure he found showers along the way, but he basically made his sole focus music, and didn't really care about I think it was all about kind of working hard and saving his money, and what better way to do that than not have rent plus renting a studio. But yeah, so and then I can't even remember what if that studio had a name or not, but there was a really cool psychedelic mural on the wall with his 2 dogs, and it was a pretty groovy place, and that's where he met Eric E-Rock. And you know how I met Mike, right?
Yeah, you told me, but I didn't tell in the podcast.
Okay, well, so I moved to LA from Chicago in 2001, and I was playing with Brian Wilson, and we were doing Pet Sounds at the Hollywood Bowl with a 70-piece, with the LA Philharmonic, and it was a hot ticket. People like Tom Cruise and that level of celebrity came to the shows and stuff. And my friend, who was a female singer-songwriter in LA, Jake Dennis, said, "Hey, can you squeeze me and my guitar player in on the list?" And I was like, "No way! This is I can barely get my wife in." So, but as luck would have it, at the last minute on one of the shows, probably somebody famous, canceled, and I said, "Okay, I can get 2 people in." And so she came with Mike, and Mike was a super Brian Wilson fan, and he looked like this cool rock and roll guy. But I found that over a lot of time that. Like Ozzy Osbourne was a big Beatles and Beach Boys fan, so you never know.
Yeah.
what heavy rockers like a little bit of melody, but yeah. So Mike and I sort of hit it off, and after we they came backstage and stuff, he's like, "Hey, we're going to this Cafe Figaro in Los Feliz if you want to meet for a drink." And I thought, okay, that's kind of close to where I live, so we met for a drink and hung out with Mike, and then the next thing I know, I needed a guitar player in my band. And I sort of pinched him from my friend's band, and he played keyboards. And so, we were very, very similar abilities, you know, with the singing and the playing of several instruments. And I just thought, man, this guy would be great. And then he asked me to play in his band. So so that was kind of funny. I just thought, well, what we should have done is just have a proper Jellyfish or Beatles or whatever, and you know, both be in the same band. But I think we were both coming off of maybe doing that and just kind of wanted to focus on our own stuff. But anyway, that's how I met Mike. And then he had met Drake, and they were pals, and they were sort of writing songs. And I think I can't remember how Mike got so lucky as to have written the theme song for Drake and Josh, but that alone will have really padded his bank account. And then he started like scoring, and you know, at first I think it was just random little bits for Drake and Josh, and then they offered him Zoe 101. But this is right after he'd gotten kicked out of the back house, so he didn't have a studio. And I said, well, come to mine, which I had a garage studio. And this is how lo-fi it was. They sent us a VHS tape to kind of score some scenes to. And so I had a TV with a built-in VHS player, and we were in my studio pushing play. I'm at the drums and Mike's got a guitar, and we're like writing in real time, you know, and rewinding a VHS tape and hoping that it all kind of locks up. It was like, I can't even believe that that's how we did it. But that's how Mike got that gig all those years ago. And then somewhere along the way, before he got kicked out of the back house, I think that's where we wrote it. But we were all just hanging out late one night, having a few drinks. And I sort of sat down at Mike's piano and started playing the beginning of Highway to Nowhere, which is something I'd had on piano for quite some time. You know,
I love that riff.
Say that again?
I love that riff.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and I had the, so I like that kind of minor sus to major. And then I think Drake said go to an F7. And does it go? A lot of the chorus was Drake, I think, that and wound up back in nowhere with you. And then another friend of ours happened to be there, and he saunters over, and when we get to the part where we weren't quite sure where to go, he was like, highway to nowhere. And I'm like, ooh, that's good. So that's why Morty got a writing credit. It was kind of, I don't know if you know the Nashville style of writing, but if you walk into a writing session and just say, try the word the there, you get a writing credit.
Great.
No, Morty, that was quite a signature moment in the song to go to that falsetto.
Yeah.
So it was valuable. We cut that one in kind of a few stages, but mostly at my studio. So that's me on drums in my garage. And believe it or not, the guitar solo is, I can't even remember the guy's name, but it's very much in Mike's style, but he's kind of one slicker than Mike. Mike gets a little wild. And he was Austin, Texas boy, young guy who just was such a slinger. And what I loved, I don't know if you paid close attention to it, but like I did some unusual like kicks on the drums, and he kind of incorporated those into his solo. And then the funnest part of the song was those guys like their jazz cigarettes, and I think I even partook that day. And so when we were doing all the backgrounds, the whole gospel ending was just a joke. I just kind of kept going on the piano track and did that, you know.
I love that.
And,
yeah.
You know, we were like clapping and hooping and hollering and pretending we were in a gospel church, and we were all giggling by the end. If you turn it up way at the end, I go like, "This go on." And
yeah.
It's like, "We are awesome," in his broadest LA dude voice, which was fun. And we were rolling on the floor, but we knew we had something kind of different for Drake and fun and bluesy, and so that's how that one came about. And then they used it in the Drake and Josh movie, I think, right?
Yeah, it was in the Go to Hollywood movie, I think. Yeah.
So that was they only used like 2 of his original songs, I think. So that was one of them. And so I got a few dollars for that.
Did you play the piano on Highway to Nowhere?
Yeah, I played the piano, I played the organ, I played the bass,
Great.
and the drums. And then I think Mike did a rhythm guitar, and then he got his friend, I wish I knew his name. I think he was in the touring band with Mike for a while. Long, dark-haired guy. Great guitar player to bust the lead. And the lead was done not at my place. But,
it's weird that Mike didn't play that
The
guitar.
lead. I mean,
Yeah.
he's playing rhythm. I think he might have even played rhythm while I was cutting the drums. But yeah, so it was a good time, and I was a little, as I mentioned to you earlier before your podcast. I had not met CJ at that point, and I think CJ moved to LA, and that's where I kind of didn't hear my phone ringing for the follow-up album.
Yeah.
Because Mike's good buddy from back in the day was on the scene. But I would have loved. I can't remember when we did All Alone at the Disco. It must have been right after they put that record out.
Yeah.
But along the way, Drake and I have written a few things. We wrote a song called "Living Room." Kai, you've done a cover of it, right?
Yeah, I did it on my record.
You
yeah.
did a pretty straight cover, and it's also on Taylor Mills, who was Brian Wilson's background singer.
Yeah.
Covered it on one of her albums, which is more of a kind of tom driven rocker, but Drake's reimagined it as a kind of a Cardigans lounge
Yeah.
kind of pop thing, which works.
Did you remember like the songs somehow? I think you probably were involved in
Well,
that.
I remember when they were working on, it was great because I could, I was hearing them as they were getting built up, and that one I thought that had some incredible guitar and just a great vibe. And the other thing that was really cool was, we met Drake when he was 15, 16 maybe.
Yeah.
So his voice just kind of got better and better with everything he recorded, and I think he really learned a lot from Mike on the first album. So he was properly a kid, when we met. But what was really cool about Drake, and a lot of people that I met in LA at the time that were that young, but they liked, Drake named all his dogs after like silent film stars. He had Buster for Buster Keaton and Chaplin, and he just likes old fashioned stuff and 60s music. And
Yeah.
usually kids are, at 15, they're very wrapped up in whatever the music of their day is. But Drake was always kind of an old soul. So that works for me because I am a good 25 years older than Drake or whatever it is. So, but yeah. So and I remember that one. I remember when they wrote Found a Way, and it was originally kind of more acoustic-y. But then I think Nickelodeon wanted more of a rocked up version. So that's, I think, why there's two versions of that floating around. But maybe not. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe it's the other way around. But, and then I remember Telegraph. That's very Mike Corcoran at the piano. I love that one too. And there's some fun. I remember, was it called Hollywood Girl?
Yeah, Hollywood Girl.
Yeah. I remember thinking that one was kind of a hit, I mean, I just knew that he had a following and he was like kind of a TV star. And none of us were quite sure, how seriously he'd be taken as a musician. But I'm glad that, there seems to be this proper cult following of people that correctly put Mike and Drake and CJ and possibly myself in a category with the Jellyfishes and the people that were really trying to capture that 60s spirit, but in a new way. So, which I think, and they even did, I mean, that next record, which is, I guess, what you guys are going to really delve into, was their proper kind of Jellyfish, really going full on with the production and all the little sound effects. And, they really kind of went full bore in the studio. First record was a bit patched together from various sessions and,
Yeah.
I think because the first record did okay, the second record, I don't know if he was signed or there was a bit more of a budget.
I think he was signed for its only time, but there was that 9 Yard thing, which I don't know, it's maybe a small label or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but I don't. Drake never talked about this actually.
No, but I just I would go to Drake's house all the time. He would have parties, and there was about 15 Nickelodeon awards on some shelf in his kitchen.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird. I felt a bit odd that I was much older than a lot of the people hanging out there. But music keeps you young, and everybody was totally into music. So there was lots of guitars being passed around, and we'd sing Beatles songs, and in fact, it's funny. Drake, whenever he had people around, he would start the party by playing the Beach Boys' Party album, which sounds like a party. He's like, I always put this on while people are slowly getting here, so it already sounds like the party's kicking off.
Yeah.
Because there's, people laughing, and I don't know how well you know that record. It's kind of a throwaway record for the Beach Boys, but it's a fun idea where they just were kind of pretending it was a party.
Yeah.
But yeah. But anyway, well, I
Great.
hope you guys find your audience with this, because I know they're out there.
We will find the people.
Well, good luck with that, and I
Thanks.
hope I was slightly entertaining.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay,
Scott.
cool, man. Talk to you later.
Thanks, man. Bye. I didn't know a lot of things about this. I mean, there's probably
Yeah.
way more to this, but
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't call everyone. But also, we don't have the numbers of everyone.
That is true.
And also, Drake talked a lot about this in other podcasts and interviews. So
Very true.
I think he would just tell us the same things, and I think
Yeah.
people would know already what he has to say.
It's true.
But yeah, I mean, we like the song "Highway to Nowhere" is definitely one of my favorites. It was always one of my favorite
Yeah.
tracks. I think I think maybe because it's kind of different from the rest of the record, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's that kind of gospel-y. It is just different, isn't it? It's quite a departure from the sort of typical rock, like this, like the blues guitar licks, and it's kinda cool.
It's a little different from the other songs. But I mean, there's like, we can't talk about every song, but I would say, to me, like, Hollywood Girl is also one of the tracks I liked, like, since day one this album was released.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, like, it was on the Drake and Josh movie, and I think that's why it's kind of one of those songs you get extremely nostalgic if you listen to it, Like, it's for me, like, Found a Way, Don't Preach, Highway to Nowhere, and Hollywood Girl. I get I get so many flashbacks from that movies because these songs were in the movies.
Yeah, I get that.
And also, like, I think in some episodes. But, like, also, there's one track I always thought it fits better on It's Only Time. And that is Somehow. To my ear, it's so, like, it sounds so much like It's Only Time.
Yeah, in the kind of feel, the vibe of it. Yeah, I'm also really gutted that you don't hear In the End very much, because that is actually one of my favourites.
Oh, yeah.
Of that album.
Yeah.
I think it's probably not most people's favourite, I imagine, for some reason, but I don't know why as well. The very first, so it's kind of piano driven, isn't it, in the beginning?
Yeah.
And there's that sort of little, maybe keyboard synthy thing doing the dee-doo-dee-doo kind of melody.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that always makes me think of some sort of Bee Gees style song. I don't know why. It just
Yeah.
always gave me that kind of vibe.
I mean,
I've always
yeah.
really enjoyed that.
I think it's interesting because In the End has that one part, I think it's after the bridge, or like in the bridge somewhere, where it's really like turning into something that sounds a lot like Jellyfish. Like, there's that part Mike
Yeah, or
sings
the
these harmonies.
Very Beach
you,
Boys.
you don't expect them to be there when you start the song.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Never
and
thought about
and that's great. I think that's great because there's stuff
Yeah.
happening in the tracks you don't expect to be there, and especially in that time when Drake was like a young teen star, you wouldn't expect this kind of music from that person. And I think that's what
So true.
That's what people that were older were impressed, like musicians
Yeah,
from the industry, but also like
very
just
mature.
yeah, totally. And that's why people appreciate that record still today. And I mean,
Absolutely.
there's tons of like teenage stars from 2005 no one remembers.
It's true.
And the music no one
mean-
remembers. Who's Corbin Bleu? I never heard of him.
You're
Corn
making
Blue.
that name up.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, Drake toured with him. That's why I mention him because
Yeah.
I think it's so hilarious. They have nothing in common, and I wonder why why they thought like, yeah, Drake,
Yeah.
you should go on tour with Corbin Blue. Like, what? It's so
It's a
weird.
question for somebody else, isn't it?
Yeah, I will ask Drake. I will ask him right now.
Yeah, call him right now. Yeah.
No, I will send him. I will send him a voice message. Maybe he answers.
Are you actually doing it? That's funny.
Hey man, why did you actually tour with Corbin Bleu? Who thought this is a great idea? Did you like the idea? Did you like Corbin Bleu? Please answer me as soon as possible. Thanks. Love you. Okay.
One eternity later.
Drake answered, LOL, he's the man.
Fine. Well, thanks for the the input, Drake.
Thanks, Drake. This is gonna be in the podcast. One song is really important as well. I bet you have like wrote it down somewhere.
Go on.
It's Down We Fall. Like it's really
Yeah.
also like that's I don't know. I have to admit when I heard this first, I didn't like it because it's so
Right.
it's starting so cheesy. But the ending, like where it goes, it's so thick.
Oh, yeah.
Like the solo, the ending solo, which
It's
you
just like
think
2
like
minutes long.
it's it never ends, and it should never end. And I reference this solo like still today in the songs. And Drake and I had a talk about this actually, where he heard a song I wrote with Miles, and he liked the song, but he never listened to the until the end of the song. And in the end of the song, there's like also like that 2 minutes long solo, which exactly sounds like Down We Fall and Somehow. And I think you played the solo, Jordan, actually.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
and-
You're right.
And one time Drake listened to the full thing and he sent me like a voice memo, like laughing his ass off, and was like, "You assholes, you stole my music all the time." And I sent a voice memo back and told him, "Yeah, it's very great, and we're gonna do it again." So yeah, and that's how the friendship ended. No, but Down We Fall.
Sort of like a weird psychedelic kind of
Yeah.
panning experience.
Oh, yeah.
and all, it's weird.
Oh yeah, you have the phasing effects, and you have
Yeah.
I think they even used binaural audio on that, like the 8D stuff you see nowadays, like you see it everywhere on YouTube. It's like Dolby Atmos kind of.
Yeah. It sort of moves through your headphones, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's available since ages, but people didn't use it, and they used that I think on the guitar track. I think, if I'm not wrong.
I think it kind of happens to a little bit of everything. I don't know if
Maybe,
it's
yeah.
maybe something on the master bus that I don't know, was just affected. It was really weird. You get this sense of something going, I think it's right to left, and it is
Yeah.
just really odd.
Yeah, but you clearly can hear the music getting a distance to the ear, kind of.
Yeah.
Like it's roomy, and it sounds like you are in the room
Yes.
with the music, kind of. And
Yeah.
that's like they were way ahead of that time with that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so Down We Fall, and also was used in Drake and Josh, I think.
Absolutely, which I guess is also where a lot of people would have first heard that.
Yeah, and there's also a video that I think it was like uploaded like a year ago or something.
Oh, is this a Nickelodeon?
Yeah, I
yeah,
never saw that
live
before.
performance.
I have never seen that before. That live performance of Down We Fall.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be even more like more performances we've not seen yet because we
Probably.
just didn't catch them on TV. I mean, we wanted to talk about Found a Way.
Of course.
And Found a Way was released before Telegraph. And I mean, it was known, I think, before Telegraph because it was obviously the theme song of Drake and Josh. And if I'm not wrong, it was written to be the theme song.
Yes.
And
I think Drake has a video on his YouTube explaining the writing process with Mike.
Yeah, and I think probably they just like decided to make it a full song when I don't. That's what I want to know.
I think
if
it was
the full
originally just
version,
a snippet, wasn't it?
that's
then
my
it got
that's
made
my
into-
question. Was it like a full track before,
I don't think so.
or
I
did
seem
they?
to remember hearing that it was just for the TV show, so they wrote the minute or whatever was needed, and then it became a full-length thing.
Yeah, but was it already fully recorded before they used it on the show, or did they really like start to complete it when the show was already on TV? That's interesting.
I see.
But I think
yeah, I
it was
don't know.
probably was already a full song.
Maybe, yeah. Because all they'd have to do is just add the ending early, wouldn't they? The very last bit.
Yeah, but you would also have like to loop the drums and stuff, because
Yeah.
it's obviously the same recording as you can hear in the intro of Drake and Josh. So they probably did the full thing before it was used in a
Yeah, maybe
intro.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
And there is another version, isn't there? The single version before
there's
the album
100
came out.
versions of Found a Way. Actually, I wrote them down. So first we have the Drake and Josh version.
Yeah.
It was also released on that Drake and Josh soundtrack. I think I have that CD somewhere, but I didn't find it. So that version is slightly different, mixed and shortened. Like it's like the
Like
guitar,
the guitar solo, yeah.
it's like cut in the middle. Then we have the video version, which kind of is completely different. Has a different guitar solo, probably has
Yeah.
different takes on the backing vocals. And the drums, I don't know if they are recorded like again, or if this is just a different mix of the same drums. But the version sounds completely different, like more like a rock song.
Yeah.
I actually never liked it that way. And I think probably they didn't like it that way because it was never released like only in the video, but it was not like on a CD or something.
I mean, I don't know if I should mention it right now, but I will anyway while we're on the topic. In the multi-track session for Found a Way, which we will get to shortly, there is some comments from, I think it's Mike, saying, feel free to use these tracks because they wanted to beef the song up a little bit for the album. So they clearly felt like they wanted to go a slightly different direction with it compared to what it was before.
Yeah, crazy.
there's definitely thoughts.
We will go into that really soon. But we also have more versions. We have the album version, which is like the standard version. I would say we all would listen to if we want to listen to the track.
I think it's probably what's on Spotify and streaming.
And then we also have the acoustic version.
Of course.
And that's something like you heard Scott mentioning they had the acoustic version probably already back in when they wrote Found a Way. I don't know if that's true, but it would explain why the acoustic version is already on the single. Because I have the single.
Oh, that's interesting.
I have the single.
Does it say when it was released?
Oh no, yeah, I have one. I have the wrong one. Mine is from 27. So, but I think there might be one from 2005.
Okay.
It's weird that they release like Found a Way as a single in 2007, right? Like
Yeah, like after it's passed.
yeah, but
kind of thing.
it looks like this. It doesn't have a front
Oh, wow.
artwork,
Okay.
and this is
Is
just
that like
the
a press
backside.
release?
Is it? I don't think so.
Okay.
It's not a promo or something.
Okay.
I have a few promo CDs of Drake, but not Found a Way. But yeah, we have the acoustic version. We have the elevator version, which was in Drake and Josh.
Oh, yeah.
Merry Happy Christmas, whatever.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, what a weird movie.
I loved
and then
it though.
and then we have that one version we never got, which probably is the best one of of all the versions, which would be the blues version.
Oh, the blues one. Yeah.
Which was performed in 2009 a few times.
Yeah.
And I know that Drake loves this one.
Yeah,
But I think-
it's the 6/8 kind of
Yeah.
slow starting
Yeah.
kind of build to it, and then it gets into kind of a heavy, as you know the song really.
Yeah.
Towards the end.
And I think like he probably wants to record that version someday, but I think he likes it so much that he wants to do it right, I guess.
We had a go at putting our own together, didn't we? Or are you wanting to say
Yeah.
that? I don't know.
Yeah. We also worked on like a recreation kind of.
Yeah.
And also Drake knows that version because I sent it to him. I think that was the time we worked on the Nonstop Flight album. So
Yes.
and we did this. I did this with Jordan and Miles, just for fun. The AI blues version. I think it's on the Drake Bell. The Backhouse Kids YouTube channel.
Yes. I think it's
And-
also on the Drake Bell covers one as well.
Yeah. I don't have anything more in my notes. I just wanted to point on all the versions we have.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
just want to say the acoustic version also is like, I love the acoustic version because it has so many harmonies, but it's actually part of the It's Only Time record. So maybe we talk
Yeah.
about this a little later.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That also has such a strange diversion in the bridge, doesn't it? With almost like a fairground kind of people cheering and screaming and cats and dogs, and it's just a bit odd.
Yeah, true. But I don't know. It's kind of like Disney style soundtrack music, maybe.
Yeah,
and
I suppose.
and I
It
really,
works.
and that's why I always appreciated the music of Mike and Drake and all the people who worked on that, because they weren't afraid to put in like cheesy stuff.
Yeah,
And
absolutely,
and I love it. We mentioned earlier we have the original stamps of Found a Way, and I think we didn't really plan what exactly we were going to talk about
No.
from this. We will just listen to the elements and share whatever we have to
Yeah.
share, right?
I just think so. I think you feel the same as me in that, you know, it's basically 20 years since we first heard this song as it is
Yeah.
now. And it's a bit of a rare opportunity to literally be able to kind of flip the hood on it and look into the song and sort
Yeah.
of dissect it a little bit and maybe hear some things that aren't obvious when you hear the song. You know, there's a lot of hidden layers to things, and
Yeah.
I personally love geeking out over things like this.
Yeah.
So it's just a bit of an opportunity to share that for other people if they're interested too.
Yeah, but we should mention that you cannot get these stamps. So if people gonna
This is exclusive.
ask us,
Yeah.
we cannot, like, it's not available, because there's actually artists that like have stamps to, like, they can buy it or something, like the
Yeah.
fans. As far as I know, that is not planned with any of the Drake's
Absolutely,
songs. But you have the chance now to listen really to every element that's in there.
Yeah.
And probably we're gonna start with the drums.
I guess so. I feel it kind of makes sense to just go from the top down, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
just hear things as they are. So I'm currently sharing my screen, so hopefully everyone can see that. And you'll see everything is color coded. This was a suggestion from Kai, just because it looks a little bit neater to differentiate everything, doesn't it? But shall I just sort of dive in and play some bits then?
Yeah.
So, shall we hear all the drums as they are?
I think that's good to start with that, yeah.
So, this is what the drums sound like.
But you missed the Neumann room comp.
Oh, yeah, that's just, it's never used.
Oh, okay.
So, it's in the session, but it's totally muted.
Okay.
For some reason, I
wait
guess
a
they just didn't
second.
like it.
Before you play, maybe we
Go on.
should mention that these are like exactly like this is a 1-by-1 copy of the Pro Tools sessions.
Yeah, this is as close as I
back
could copy it.
Yeah, and that's from back in 2000 whatever 3 maybe.
Maybe,
and,
yeah.
And it's just like cloned to be in Logic. I
Yes.
think that's how we can
Yeah.
say it, because we use Logic, they use Pro Tools, and
Yeah.
we like all the settings on the like plugins. It's all the same thing.
Yeah,
So yeah,
the levels are there, the panning is the same.
yeah,
Yeah. It's about as close as we can possibly get.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So, so without further ado, these are a little snippet of the drums. So you can kind of hear how much reverb is on those snares as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really obvious. It wasn't obvious to me until I heard it as it is.
Yeah.
But there's a huge amount.
I'm not sure. Like, this, I don't know. Like, if this is what the Pro Tools sounded like, then it must be like, because I almost can't believe it.
Yeah,
Like, you can play, like, can you play The Room only?
Yes, absolutely. So one thing I will just say is, a thing that I think is great about the production of this song, and actually generally throughout, I think, the albums, is they are not afraid to use samples to improve things. I know some people are very anti-samples and want things to be authentic.
I love samples.
Yeah, if it makes
It makes
sound better.
everything great.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think
I don't
there's a
need to
problem.
work anymore. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
But it's like you'll see here, you've got the actual kick and the actual snare, but you've got a kick replacer sample. You've got a few snare. You've got
that's
actually
insane.
4.
That's insane. I couldn't believe that when I saw this session the first time. I was like, nah, they didn't really use all these. Like, I thought these were just in the project, in the Pro Tools session, but maybe muted or something. Like,
No,
but
yeah,
they
and are
used it in the
literally
mix.
all there. Yeah,
It's
literally
insane.
there. So these are what the rooms sound like. They are a little bit quiet.
Yeah.
But that's the room. One thing that's really interesting, and I don't know the decision on this. I don't understand it, but the overhead mics, so there's a left and a right, of course. They are hard panned, but the left one has a send to a reverb, and it's really washed out only on that side.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just play you that. It's just really weird. So you hear a lot on the left.
Yeah.
If I remove that,
Yeah.
so it has this kind of lopsided effect. It's really weird.
Yeah,
I'm
it's weird,
Not
yeah.
sure why that's like that, but
Yeah, I mean,
it is.
probably. I mean, I would do this to hear certain sounds which are kind of drowned in the mix.
Yeah,
I would do this because I know if you put little echo on the vocals, for example, you can hear them better, even though you don't go up with the volume. And maybe that's one of the reasons. Maybe they wanted to hear the snare better.
possibly.
I don't
Maybe.
know. Could be, but we don't know.
But just so you can hear, speaking of the snare, this is just the snare mic on its own.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And just with all the additional samples as well, which some of the samples have reverb attached to them, and this is all the snares together. It's just such a different sound. And
It sounds. You know what this sounds like? It sounds like in the 90s the keyboard from my grandma. Like the drums
be.
on that. That sounds like that.
It might be, you never know. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to play the snare on its own and slowly add the samples in, and you can hear it build. It's really weird. So this is starting with no samples.
Yeah.
It's
I
quite
think
beefy.
I think the PJ sample is like the weirdest on those, right? Yeah.
It's so gated.
Yeah.
But when it's in the context of the mix, again, let me just play the whole drum set.
Play the chorus.
Okay, the whole thing or just the drums on the chorus?
The drums on the chorus.
Let's have a look. So that'll be somewhere around here, I think. Be here. yeah, like it sounds great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds really good.
Yeah.
And there's you mentioned about the Neumann. Should I let them hear that?
What is on there?
So this
It's just
must
a
have
room.
just been another room mic, yeah, but it was just never used.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess they
don't-
felt they didn't need it.
yeah. Then we have cymbal swells, which I
Yeah.
never knew they are in there.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's a weird thing because it's so obvious, but unless you're listening for them, they just blend in totally. So it's sort of like reverse cymbals and that kind of sound. There's a nice thing that happens right at the end of the bridge going into the last chorus where there's two that happen, and you'll hear it here.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a swell on the left, but then the actual sound on the right.
Yeah, yeah. I think what they did is they reverted the first one because it's backwards. Pretty sure about this. Yeah, but I just didn't notice them in the full mix, you know.
Yeah, it's weird. There's so many little things. Just to move forward, then there is also a couple of loops throughout the song.
Yeah,
You hear it at the very start, but then it's a little bit throughout as well, particularly in the bridge. And that loop, if I play it, everyone will recognize it.
yeah. Yeah, it's that clicky sound you always
Yeah.
hear when the intro in Drake and Josh starts. Like,
Yeah. Let me
that's
play it
what
in the
he always-
context of it all.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's really weird. And that is sort of throughout, really, at different sections. Just
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
shorter snippets. But it looks like it is throughout the bridge as well.
Yeah, I
But
noticed.
with a
I noticed.
slightly, there's a slightly different kind of effect on it. Maybe like a phaser or something.
Yeah. It's,
So it has
it's,
something
it's, a,
different.
it's a phaser. I mean, phasing can be nice if you use it in the
Yeah.
right way.
Absolutely.
But phasing also can be something that happens when you have like drum mics and they
you
are
don't
not
want it to happen.
they are not perfectly in sync with each other. That can also happen, but yeah.
Yeah, in this case, that was a purposeful thing.
Yeah.
And there's also, I didn't realize this, there's a chorus loop, which is a drum kit playing over the chorus.
Really?
Yeah, and so I'll play this for you, but this is where I mentioned that the actual comment on Pro Tools for that track said, it said, this may help to lift the chorus, if not, feel free to ditch it. But it was still there. So I'll play you that. It's really interesting. I wouldn't dream that this was in here. Just that.
Can you play that section like all the tracks?
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna take time to realize.
I'll mute it.
That
But if you look inside, I'm sure you'll find over your shoulder, you know.
I had no idea about this.
Yeah. So it's just kind of unusual. It's so subtle. It's almost not noticeable, but it's there,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool. But again, this is kind of what I meant about geeking out over the little details of things that you wouldn't notice or remotely think about
Yeah.
at all. But it all adds to the production of, I guess, really why we enjoy it as a song so much. All the little hooks and things.
Yeah. Definitely. Let's listen to the tambo.
So I think this is just a loop. This is not played, I'm certain.
Yeah.
Because I've copied it before and it perfectly lines up. So I don't even think that's a real tambourine. But
Yeah.
I think I've seen before, I hope this is okay to say, plugins from RMX Stylus, which was a loop software, and I imagine this is originally from that.
Yeah. I think that's totally okay to say.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think so.
And I don't think it really matters. Again, some people will be really authentic, like, oh, they didn't use a real instrument there. That must be bad. But actually, it sounds good, so that's all that matters.
Yeah. Also, if you only have a back house to record,
True.
you have to use some MIDI stuff.
Yeah, but it's not like it sounds bad.
No,
So,
not at all.
you know.
I think the tambourines, especially on all the, like, it's only time tracks, and I don't know if they are real or not. Maybe some of them are real, but they always sound very clean on the stuff Mike used to mix.
Oh, yeah. I believe there's only 1 or 2 times I've heard where it's an actual mic. The rest is just samples.
Yeah.
But again, not a problem. Then we get onto the bass guitar, and the bass guitar is directly in, so it's not through an amp. It's just using amp simulators. And just so you can hear that, there's a little bit of an EQ and compression on it. But essentially, this is the bass as you hear it. So as far as intricate bass lines go, that really is not.
Yeah.
It's just filling in that low end.
Yeah, but I never know. I mean, I never would have thought that, like, they used just like a direct bass without any, like, they didn't do a lot to it, right?
No, I sounds to me like they might have put an amp sim on it
Yeah.
after the fact. I don't know if it applies to this song, but I spoke briefly to CJ on Instagram a few weeks ago, just asking him for any insight in preparation for this. And he said that the earlier stuff was basically all direct, guitars and bass. Drums, however, went through a tape machine.
Yeah.
Supposedly. But then halfway through It's Only Time, it wasn't anymore.
Okay.
So half the album is. But so I don't know if that includes this with it being the old Backhouse. Don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. Crazy. I don't know. We need to find out.
I'm sure, yeah, we'll certainly have time to do that. Do you want me to play any more of the bass, or shall I move forward?
Can you play the chorus? Because I think people want to hear the chorus.
Yeah.
Maybe the last chorus.
Yeah, absolutely. Into the outro.
Yeah.
So this might be just coming from the very end of the bridge.
Guitar solo part.
Yes. Oh, everyone knows that end.
Yeah.
And then you know when Drake and Josh is starting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a mixture of different sort of key things, really. So we've got a clavinet. Oh, we've got a couple of them, actually. So I'll play the clavinet 1.
And you know what's crazy? In the mix, I always heard a piano and not this. Like, I always thought this is a piano.
Oh, interesting. Well, we'll come to it, but there is a piano later on, and that is probably what you
okay.
hear.
Okay,
That
okay.
might be what you hear. But just so you can hear the back end of that going into the bridge as well, it's kind of interesting. In fact, I'm going to play both clavinets because they are sort of, they work together.
Yeah.
You'll hear the effect of it. So this is I think the end of the chorus 2 going into the bridge. Yeah, so there you have it.
So 70s.
It really is.
Yeah. That's so cool.
It is
And
really cool.
And it's also like not only 70s, but it's also so 2000s, right?
Yeah, it is. I suspect that this will be MIDI originally, but I do know that I think later on, particularly some of the organs in It's Only Time, I believe are legit.
Yeah.
They sound it.
Definitely.
But there is also, just to skip slightly ahead, but it makes sense because it ties into what you've just heard with the clavinets. But there is also a synth that plays underneath that section in the bridge. So just to hear that. It's
Yeah.
almost like a loop, really.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
together those things, those elements, just to play a little bit of that. It's just really weird.
Yeah. It's cool.
But again, you don't really notice that. So I think, just to add to what you said earlier, Kai, I think when you said you heard the piano, you are hearing what I'm about to play.
Oh, I see it already. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a piano.
And what's really cool, a little bit of a production knowledge for you, I can only imagine they did this because it wasn't maybe cutting through the mix and they didn't really want to just raise the volume because that might have just not sounded right in proportion. So there is actually an amp sim on the piano, which
Yeah.
gives it a little bit of saturation and I
Yeah.
guess, helps it harmonically cut through. So this is the piano. I'm going to play it, first of all, a little bit without the amp simulator, just so you can hear what it would have been. And then I'll add the amp simulator in and you'll hear a bit of a difference. And you'll also hear there's a little bit of
Did you
an
do this?
automation. Yeah, so this is an automation that I copied across. For whatever reason, it jumps to the other speaker, one
Okay.
side.
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know if it was an accident or if it's intentional.
Oh, that's weird. We need to actually. That's what people. If you listen to this podcast right now, like, head over to the Drake Bell Spotify, check out "Found a Way." This part, the last chorus, and check out if the piano there, like, is going to the other side of your
Yeah.
ear.
Literally, like, for a moment, it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play that in context of the whole song, just so you can
Yeah.
hear that part.
Yeah.
I'll unmute everything else.
It's gonna take some time to realize.
Like, you can't really tell.
Hard to tell,
Yeah.
but I heard it a little bit.
But I think it would be more obvious once the amp simulator is on. So I'll just play it with that, and
Yeah.
it beefs it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So this is the new sound for it.
Yeah.
There you
Nice.
go.
A nice little cheap MIDI piano.
Exactly, yeah. It literally is,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't get drier than that as a sound.
Yeah.
But when that gets played with that clavinet, particularly at the end, it's just what you hear.
Oh yeah. True.
You know, together.
True.
And interestingly, they're also panned the same way as well. So they're kind of, I guess, interpreted from the same source, which is maybe why you heard it as you did.
Okay.
Then we also have the Rhodes. Now, this
Yeah.
is what everybody knows when they
Yeah.
hear the
I
start
love
of
them.
that song. Yeah,
I
it's
love
so
those.
good.
Yeah.
It's such a tasteful thing.
Someone needs to make like a 70s disco version of Found a Way and use that Rhodes as
Yeah.
the main instrument, like a dance version or something. It's
Yeah.
so groovy, so catchy.
Oh, it's so good. That also, you might have seen, has an amp sim on it as well.
Yeah.
Just to give it a little bit of beefiness, this is the comparison. It's quite different.
And also maybe we should mention that these plugins you have, like the Oxford EQ and the SSL compressor, like these are the ones they use as well, right?
Yeah, this is literally the settings that they
And-
had,
and also
and
the-
the plugin.
Yeah, also the amp farm on the guitars and
Yeah.
like Rhodes and stuff. Yeah.
I
Like
mean,
for people
that
who,
was-
for the music nerds who wanted to know which plugins do they use, these are the ones.
Yeah, like 20-year-old.
20 years old, yeah.
I mean, they'd have to be, wouldn't they? But yeah, Amp Farm, and you'll maybe see later on there's an Echo Farm as well for a delay. That,
And can we mention that like you had to like contact Amp Farm, like the ones who made that plugin.
oh yeah,
to
I
actually-
had such a going on to get that
To-
because
to
this
give
was
you-
old
yeah.
tech.
Yeah.
And,
To give you access to have it even working on your computer today, because because Jordan managed like to copy all the original stems in its original form to Logic, and he needed access to these old plugins. They wouldn't even work today on our computers, but they work on Jordan's computer now.
Yeah,
And,
so
it's
the-
really cool
the-
that they helped you out with that.
Oh yeah, I felt really, really privileged. So basically, really short story is, I could not at all download these. I mean, there were the downloadable files, but once you tried to open the plugin in the door, it was just like, you know, give your serial number. And
Yeah.
I didn't have one, obviously, and I couldn't
Yeah.
demo it or anything. So this was old TDM Pro Tools plugins where it was not native. You had to have a TDM system for Pro Tools for it to run.
Yeah.
And I think it came with an old package with like 100 other plugins at that time. So I reached out to Line 6, who are the developer of
Yeah.
Amp Farm and Echo Farm. And I just explained the situation that I have some old tracks that I'd like to bounce out, but I don't have the plugins. Would you give me temporary access? Which they did.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Which is really cool. I did have to, which I currently have now, plugged in an iLock USB because it doesn't do it through just the computer iLock.
Yeah.
It has to be, it's the version 2 USB
Yeah.
that I've got. So that is currently plugged in. But yeah, they were really kind to do that. And eventually I sourced my own license for that. So I have it indefinitely now.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. So we can check out a lot of STEM sessions in the future.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
At least it's there.
I see. We now we come to the guitars.
Absolutely. So this is kind of the exciting stuff for me because I'm a guitar teacher and
Yeah.
I nerd out on stuff like this.
Do your thing.
Okay. So there is an acoustic guitar that is just hard panned to the right, just a single channel track, and it's got a little bit of EQ and some gentle compression, but otherwise it's pretty much as you hear it. There is something that they must have added some processing on at the very start, which is aligned with the kind of synthy loop thing, but you'll hear that. It's almost like a bit of maybe a saturated amp sim on there or something at the very beginning. which is
Yeah, it's
kind of
great.
cool to hear it in isolation.
I never noticed, like in the pre-chorus, that he's not playing dum do 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 dum do 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 dum. He's playing like he plays these chords, like he plays
it's a
these
little
notes.
suspended thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I never noticed that. I always thought it's just like the standard, like how Drake plays it on stage. When he plays
Yeah,
acoustic, he doesn't play that.
No. I'm just going to find that bit again that you're
Yeah.
referring to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly
it's
that.
nice.
Yeah, I love that. But overall, I love the sound of the acoustic guitar. I like when it's like, you hear that it's like they strum like it's really hard.
It's hard,
It's hard,
isn't it? Yeah.
hard strumming, and the strings are kind of maybe old. I don't know, but
yeah, maybe.
it sounds so good.
Yeah, there's, it's. I think what I'm about to say will sound like a criticism, but whatever mics
What is
were
that
being used,
shit song? I'm joking.
it's like, yeah, like what am I doing here? The mics that were used in, at least throughout It's Only Time and this song, on the acoustic guitar, like the actual acoustic guitars don't sound very good, but in the context of the mix, they do. It's not full-bodied or anything
That's
like
like
that.
in all my songs. That's the case. Like
Yeah.
when I play acoustic guitar, when you play it, it sounds great. But when I play it, you cannot listen to that track without all the other tracks because it sounds like shit. Really,
Well,
there's a lot of room.
yeah.
Like you can
Yeah.
hear it. I record often in this room, and this room is not good for recording. But
like not treated.
I do it anyways.
Yeah. But the other thing as well, I think you would agree with me here that a lot of the time acoustic guitar, in the case of a full band song, is really for more of rhythmic, almost a drum element, because you're hearing that sort of pick attack really
Yeah.
more than the actual sound of the instrument, really,
Yeah.
the chords and stuff. So I think you're kind of hearing that rhythmic playing more than the harmonic content of it,
Yeah.
which I think helps. That acoustic guitar as well, for if you're interested, there's nothing in the bridge at all with that. It's just really the verses and the choruses. And just to hear the very last bit of that, in case you want to. So that
Yeah.
is the acoustic guitar. Then we get into the electric guitar parts.
Yeah.
This is, I think, very standard, really. I don't believe there's any additional processing on any of these. So, if whatever they did to sculpt this sound is not privy to us, we can't see what they did behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
Yeah.
But apparently, according to the comments, it was just Amp Farm, that simulator that you've heard. So this was just printed as that final sound.
Yeah.
It's a very standard thing. You've got double-tracked, hard-panned rhythm guitars. And you will hear, at the very beginning of one of these hard-panned guitars, the very start of the song, which I'll play it, you'll recognize where it fits immediately.
Yeah.
And I believe I remember hearing on some sort of interview with Drake, I think that was the kind of riff that they had when they first built this song.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know that has been the case, but I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
I believe both of these guitars, if I remember correctly, I think they're doing slightly different things, so they oppose each other in the mix. I'll play you both of them together so you hear the effect of that. So that's it.
Yeah.
So one is really heavily distorted and one's a little cleaner.
And I believe, I don't know if it's the case in this session, but I think Mike used to have a lot of double tracks, and like on the guitars, like he would double the guitar, and then he would like, one of them would be like a completely destroyed saturation, like completely, and he would like use the volume to like to choose if he like wants to actually have like a heavy distortion or not. So he can, it's hard to explain, but he has
No, I know
both.
what you mean.
Like he has the clean sound and he has the completely destroyed sound.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's, I don't know if that's the case here, but it's in other songs. I think in Hollywood Girl, I think there he did that.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're describing is what we'll hear. I believe what I've just got soloed now is the same, I think, just left and right to give a stereo field. Having said that, though, the next two after that are really smacked.
Okay.
And really
Okay.
heavy. So
Yeah.
just to hear, I think this is going to be the chorus or the pre-chorus going into the chorus. Yeah, I'll play the track. So fairly straightforward as in
Yeah.
terms of guitar parts.
Yeah.
But then when you hear the chorus doubled guitars, they are the pretty heavy distorted ones that you were talking about.
Okay.
Which is these.
Yeah.
I'll put them with the other.
I wanna mention whoever played these guitars. There's one note in the chord that makes it like a blues chord. I don't know if you
Right
know
at the
which
end?
note. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
note.
making it a dominant 7 chord. Yeah,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is not part of any of the other instrumentation. It's literally just that guitar.
Yeah,
And as I say, the first guitars here don't do this,
yeah,
so it's not there.
yeah.
And I think it's just, let me check this. I think it's just one of these two guitars, additional ones. Just hear them separately. So it's not there.
It's not there.
So it's this one.
There it is.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so weird. It's a very
Yeah, but it's cool.
interesting
It
music
doesn't
choice.
like you don't notice it in the song when you hear
No.
the song, but I mean that means it's not. It doesn't make the song like worse because
Dissonant.
dissonant. Yeah, it's not actually.
Not at
but
all.
You would think it will be when the other
Yeah.
instruments come to it, but it's not the case.
Just with that thought, hear those parts within the whole song, and it's kind of there. You can tell now, but it's
Yeah.
not obvious when you just listen to it before you know that that's the case.
Yeah.
So just turn around.
I didn't
You
hear
can't
it
tell.
actually.
Yeah, you
No.
cannot tell.
Yeah.
So it's really weird. The same thing happens throughout the next the next verse and the next chorus, and then you get into a really fun little part with all the guitars, pretty much. There's a few sections to this. You have the main rhythm guitars that are actually, if you can see here, Kai, the two that I've highlighted, they are literally the same sound file. So this part in the middle here is all the same.
Yeah.
Not even a different amp setting, but they're just doubled
Yeah.
for whatever reason. So really, you can consider these as being one thing.
Okay.
And then these are separate files.
Okay.
So they play with each other, and you'll hear this back and forth between the left and the right, which this is the bridge. It's just really unusual.
Yeah. But if you remove the one of the two that are just the same, you won't have that phasey sounding effect.
Maybe not.
It's a little different now. Because...
I'll add it back in. Go on.
Yeah, no, play it.
Oh.
Now you hear it.
Yeah.
So if
it's weird, isn't it?
so if you I don't know if they are perfectly in sync with each other, but if you would like put a gain on it and invert the phase,
So I'm gonna
probably
do this,
the guitar
actually.
will be disappeared, but only if they are in sync, like perfectly.
Yeah.
And I don't think
I
they
guess they're also a different volume
Oh, yeah.
slightly as well.
Then
and
also-
pan.
are. Yeah. I mean, try it, but probably one will be just not as
I
loud.
doubt this will change. Let's see. So this is without inverting the phase, and this is with.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a bit of a difference.
It's way different because the one is like not gone completely because it's
exactly.
not perfectly in sync and the volume is different. But I think they did it because they wanted to have this kind of effect, which sounds a little phasey, maybe.
Probably, and you'll see they're both panned, but ever so slightly panned differently.
Oh, that's also a
One
reason
isn't-
it
yeah.
didn't- yeah.
But then underneath of that, there is these weird. They've called them Bridge Guitar Amp Farm 1, 2, and 3. So creative names, which are well, you'll hear them. I'll play them all together, just so you will know what this sounds like.
Yeah.
There is, however, I believe it's Guitar 3 is kind of a hidden track that I really don't hear in the final song. So I don't know if this was really present or not. I can't tell, but
Okay.
I'll play them all anyway.
I think they go with the keyboards you played before.
Yes,
And
yeah.
also, I can imagine that maybe that third guitar maybe was part in the Drake and Josh version. Maybe.
possibly.
But I don't know. But
yeah, I don't
think
hear it.
It was maybe on some of the mixes.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously at least an idea that we
Yeah.
know of, and if it wasn't ever present, there's a bit of an exclusive for you all.
Yeah. Yeah, unheard tracks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the other part, the Amp Farm 1 and 2, it's kind of constant, whereas the second one sort of changes and dances a little more. So together.
That's so 2000s.
It really is. And just
Yeah.
so you can hear it with the other clav and the synth. It's really weird. It is really cool.
It's so, yeah, it's cool.
Then we get to the guitar solo,
Yeah.
which is really fun. Now, this is unusual, at least in terms of the production values compared to the other songs on the albums. But this guitar solo is tracked 3 times. There are 3 guitars in this, 2 of them are just hard panned, basically a double track of the solo, which none of the other songs on the albums do that.
Yeah.
And then there is a harmony, basically almost in the middle, as a third part. So just so you can hear this, I just think it's really cool. These are all 3 parts together.
So sick.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's so
Like
sick.
that is so nice to hear. And just to play a little bit of each, just so people can appreciate this on a deeper level. These are the doubles. It's just so nice.
It's so good,
and you
yeah.
can hear how hard he's picking that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you can hear the energy and the attack, just in how that comes across. So good. And just so you can hear all the guitars together towards the very end of the song, including the acoustic. Ah, it's just great.
Yeah,
And you know that Drake and Josh is just about to start.
yeah.
So they are the guitars. Then we get to really the last parts of this, really, which is the lead vocal and the harmonies. There's probably not a whole lot to really say about this.
Yeah, but this is probably what everyone has been waiting for,
Yeah.
like of the hardcore Drake fans. And this is like a young Drake, we can say, right? It's like
Yeah.
he's maybe like 16 or something.
Yeah, probably younger. But
Maybe.
yeah. So this just has a little bit of compression and de-essing. There's not a whole lot, at least in the Pro Tools session. They probably went through some sort of outboard gear and maybe added some sort of analog saturation. But yeah, there's very little done to it. And just so you can hear the vocal part of that. And there's something that I want to say when it gets to the chorus too.
Okay.
So this is the verse.
Well, I never thought that it'd be so simple, but I found a way, And I always thought that it'd be too crazy, but I found a way,
So what you'll also hear is there's that delay, that ping-ponging effect too. That's really prominent in so many of the songs, but it's not very obvious, actually.
It's not obvious, but it keeps the vocals to be in the focus of the song, because I use that sometimes, like I mentioned before, like when you mix stuff, like echo, like helps you to not get drowned in the mix, like on some
Yes,
like
yeah.
on vocals or instruments, like, and that's I think what's happening there, but it's also I think just sounding cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives it a different texture, doesn't it? That just helps it to stand out in some way.
Yeah.
There is something that I don't know if it's that obvious. It wasn't until I heard this from this project. But when Drake sings the very first line of "It's gonna take some time" of the chorus, you can really hear him digging into some sort of gruffness.
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
really like I'll play it. It's so I didn't expect it, shall we say?
It's gonna take some time.
That took me by surprise. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know, but I noticed also, like when I heard the stems, I didn't notice in the song.
Yeah, exactly. Shall I play a bit of this chorus?
Yeah.
It's gonna take some time to realize, but if you look inside, I'm sure you'll find Over your shoulder, you know that I told you I'll always be picking you up when you're down. So just turn around.
Ah, so good. There's also a little bit of sort of imperfections in there. You can hear the plosive not being caught by the pop shield as well.
Yeah.
Occasionally in there.
Yeah.
Like the breath noise. But you don't notice it in the song, in the mix.
Yeah, you don't know. Not at all.
No, it sounds slick and professional,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
There's also, of course, that little... Right at the end, that everybody knows.
That legendary ending.
Absolutely.
Everyone expects Drake to sing when he plays the song live, but he never sings
That's true, yeah. That's so funny. I've never realised that, yeah. So there's probably not a lot to really say about the vocal, the lead vocal, I should say. There's the ping-ponging effect,
that. Yeah.
but otherwise it's pretty straightforward, really. There is, however, in the bridge of that, a very low octave on the, I believe it's Live How You Want to Live, I think, is it?
Yeah.
And I'll just play those bits together just so you hear that effect soloed.
You know you gotta live like you wanna live.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of deep gruffness.
Yeah. I think like I think the vocals, they come to life when you make all like when you put all the harmonies to it, because that's
Absolutely.
like that made the magic on
definitely.
this song and on a lot of other tracks from the record and from its only time.
Definitely. And what's really interesting about this is in the project, these were, I believe, recorded in 2 parts, because some of them were classed as new and some of them were just already there.
Oh, yeah,
So
I
I don't
see.
know if the new ones were for the album. I'm assuming so. But so I'm just going to play you what essentially is the background vocals as they probably would have been. And it looks like this one might have been included, but I'll include it.
Maybe that's from the demo, because
Maybe.
I before we made this podcast, I did ask Drake if the demo is completely different, and he said that they kind of turned the demo into the final version. So,
Oh, interesting.
So it's like they recorded probably in that Pro Tools project, in that session, they recorded the demo, and later they came back to the same session and changed stuff and added vocals. Maybe
Yeah, that
that's
makes sense.
maybe that second, like that new comp vocals. Maybe maybe they weren't in the demo. Probably.
Possibly not. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. I didn't realize that. So what you're saying is that they didn't necessarily start from the beginning.
Yeah.
They just built upon it.
Maybe.
Cool. Interesting. So here's, let's go for essentially, I think this is going to be this is a chorus of all the parts here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to double check first what this one is.
Take some time to read.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
that's
double.
just a vocal double. So here's what everybody knows.
Take some time to realize. Look inside, I'm sure you'll find.
So good.
So cool.
Over your shoulder, you know that I told you I'll always be
I love it.
picking you up when you're down.
It's
I
just so
always
nice.
like this. This part always got me, where he also like changes the note in the vocals. Like he's like singing, "Take some time to realize." He's going
Yeah.
down. He goes with the chords, and like not all the people do that. And also, I saw a lot of covers of that song from some fans on YouTube. They didn't get the backing vocals right. They like
Right,
they,
yeah.
they maybe stay on that note, or they just don't do that vocal at all. They just miss like half of the whole background section because
Yeah.
they probably didn't notice. I don't know, but there's like this inspired me a lot.
Yeah.
Like the way he builds his background vocals on Drake's records inspired me really, really, like for all my music, kind of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can tell, really, can't you, from the influence with your music. And
Yeah.
I think it is very Beach Boys-esque.
Yeah.
Sort of Queenie as well. But, I mean, I think there's something to be said as well. Not to fangirl over Mike, but I am going to for a second, is the quality of his voice. There's just something about it that it cuts through in a different way. For
Yeah.
example, if somebody else were to sing those exact lines, it wouldn't have the same quality.
He has such a thick voice, right?
Yeah.
It's so like it's not like my voice when I sing backing vocals is like that.
Yeah.
And when Mike sings something, bam, it's
Yeah, yeah.
like I don't know. It's just his voice tone, which is so,
Yeah.
which has such a big sound, I guess.
Yeah.
He's kind of if you listen to his solo stuff, he almost sounds like a soul singer, you know? Because
Yeah, that's a good
it's
point.
so, and also when he sings harsh, like when he does the harsh stuff on his voice, like when he really gets raspy, that's insane. And he does
Yeah.
that a lot on Drake's stuff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you
There's
can.
such a diverse quality of his voice, isn't there?
Yeah.
It fits in everything.
I mean, you can play some of this individual vocals, I guess, to show people what we talk about. I mean, maybe it's not so much on this song, but
Yeah.
maybe it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll just also play the second
Oh, yeah.
half to that, which is I guess the new parts that were maybe added, or maybe they were just redone from the demo. Who knows?
Yeah.
But this is the kind of call and response bit to what we all know.
See what's inside.
That's just iconic as it is.
Yeah.
Who are you? Who are
So I think they're the same. And then the very last bit.
you? Down, round.
That's just what everybody knows.
Yeah, and I think that first two vocals you have soloed right now are a good example of what we just talked about. That his voice sound, because he's singing a little raspy in there. You can play these without
These
the
two?
rest. Yeah, but the last part.
Oh, sorry, this bit.
Yeah,
Down, round.
it gets a little raspy in the middle.
Yeah. I
And-
don't know if this one does more. I'm just going to check
Try.
it. You can cut this out if you want.
No,
Oh, no, it doesn't. No,
that's
you're
not
right.
it. But there might be some part we will maybe find one. I
Absolutely.
mean, you have to look at the waveform, like the very
Yeah.
loud ones. You will see, like,
Yeah.
maybe
Shall
maybe
I play the whole thing?
play something.
Shall I do it with the lead vocal?
Yeah, play the a cappella.
Yeah. So yeah, he's found a way a cappella.
Here's the a cappella version.
Thought that it'd be too crazy, but I found a way, If you open up your mind, see what's inside.
So good.
It's gonna take some time to realize. But if you look inside, I'm sure you'll find. Over your shoulder, you know that I told you I'll always be picking you up when you're down. So just turn around.
Oh, that's just so good.
It doesn't get boring.
It's like they couldn't have done anything more perfect.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. There's nothing I would change if I was producing that.
No, definitely not.
So good. There's a couple of little moments as well, just so you can hear it in the bridge too. I will just continue playing that.
No one cares what you give. You know you gotta live like you wanna live. When it's time to be free, you know you gotta be what you wanna be.
So that is what you're talking about. That
play,
kind of.
play some of them. Play some of them individually.
Okay, so here's the older parts.
To be free, you know you gotta be what you wanna be.
Oh yeah, that's
It's
it.
so
That's what I mean. Like he has this soul guy
Yeah.
that comes out sometimes.
and this is, yeah,
I can't even do it. I can't do
It's
it.
sort of like preach it.
Yeah.
And this is the other part, the newer part,
Be what you wanna be.
which is that
So-
kind of
so
lighter
cool.
area
So cool.
sort of thing. Oh, it's just so good. There was also really kind of there's a part in there that I never really noticed in the original track, which is this.
Live like you wanna live.
Oh,
Like, yeah, I never
yeah.
heard
I think
that sort of
I think
harmony.
I didn't notice as well. Yeah. I didn't
So
notice
there's
it.
so many little gems of things that's just beautiful.
Mm.
And I believe the rest of it is just the same.
But yeah, it's crazy, these harmonies, and I think it's a good thing that this was like the theme song on a kids show, like on a family kids whatever,
Yeah.
because it's really music. I actually want to see young generations listen to that kind of stuff again.
Yeah.
Because that's really tasteful. But yeah,
Definitely.
I don't know. Right now, I think K-pop and all this stuff is more famous.
I mean, everything comes full circle in the
Yeah.
end, doesn't it? So it'll become a popular thing again.
But I think like kind of everyone knows this song. So
Yeah. I
even
mean,
people
even if you
who
don't know
aren't
Drake.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just to is there anything that you wanted to add? Because what I was thinking was to maybe kind of round things off by playing the song but slowly adding the elements in.
Yeah, do that, and yeah, that's a good idea.
Cool. So I will start soloing things and we'll just play through the song and it will it will develop.
Yeah.
So here we go. This is Found a Way Not As You Ever Knew It.
Over your shoulder, you know that I told you I'll always be picking you up when you're down. So just turn around. No one cares what you give. You know you gotta live like you wanna live. When it's time to be free, you know you gotta be what you wanna be.
Oh, it's like your childhood.
Yeah, our childhood.
Yeah.
Yes, crazy.
I love it.
I want to say something before we end this episode.
Okay.
You can still get this. It's only
course.
this Telegraph vinyl record, which is available on Elastic Stage, and the link will be maybe here. And it's official. Like, you can get it there. And just wanted to say this because I think many people didn't see. Drake posted it a few times, but you still can get this on vinyl. It deserves the vinyl release, so we have one now. And
I mean, 20 years, it deserves celebrating, doesn't it?
Yeah, 20 years. And I mean, we are very early on this, but next year we have the 20th anniversary on for It's Only Time.
Of course.
So this podcast is early, but consider it to be like for the 20th anniversary, because I think we can already tell the next episode will hopefully be a Periscope.
Yeah, I mean, if people like this and
If
have
people
enjoyed
like this, if not, we
I'd be
just gonna
happy to do
stop.
more.
We will just disappear.
Yeah.
But we don't know when this is gonna happen. We hope it's not too far away. We will just we need to upload this episode and see if people like it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I hope it was fun for you guys to watch.
I hope so, yeah. I think we've gone through a lot there, haven't we?
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
than we maybe intended to. But
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, I hope it was enjoyable for people and you were able to kind of geek out with us a little bit. And I'm sure if you want more, we'll get better at doing this. We will improve and find a flow. But I really enjoyed this. And I want to just thank Drake as well as yourself, Kai, because it's a really fun opportunity to just be able to look under these songs that, become so popular. There's very few people in the world that can do that, and I feel really privileged to be able to share it.
Yeah. I mean, Drake said, go for it. So here we are. And also, I think it would be cool, if we do the next episode, if we do a Periscope, maybe people already have something in mind they want to know, about the song or about the structure of the song stems, whatever. Maybe we can figure out. So if there's a comment
Q&A.
section, I mean, we can't answer everything, but we didn't produce this, but I mean, you can just type it in the comments. And thanks for watching.
Absolutely.
For listening.
Thank you so much, and hopefully see you soon.